Good afternoon, folks. It's Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Today, I want to talk about Fernando Fuentes, the first Latino city council member, and his new e-newsletter. Join me.
Freddie wins.
Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Good afternoon, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Today, I want to talk about the first Latino Hispanic mayor and his new e-newsletter and organization, the Yonkers Latino Political Action Committee. And in this newsletter, he's bringing out a lot of data, a lot of statistics, a lot of information. And the goal is to make Latinos, specifically Hispanics, aware of the political process, become more involved in the political process, be more engaged, because the lack of involvement is hurting us, right? It's hurting the Hispanic and Latino community here in the city of Yonkers. Folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. If you don't know who Fernando Fuentes is, he is a Puerto Rican Yonkers native, I guess. I don't know if he lives in Yonkers still, but he was appointed to the city council back in 1994. But before that, he actually ran for assembly for the 83rd seat, which is the seat that was held by Nick Spano at the time. But first, I want to talk about the recent announcement by the Yonkers Public School in the city of Yonkers. There's an interim superintendent that has been appointed until the search, I guess, is finalized. Luis Rodriguez will serve as the interim superintendent of the Yonkers Public Schools and replace outgoing superintendent Edwin Quesada. Dr. Quesada, who announced his retirement in April 23rd, actually will have his last day on July 31st. Rodriguez was appointed to the position during a Board of Education meeting on Wednesday night, July 19th. He will begin his new role on August 1st. And again, he will serve until Quesada, Dr. Quesada. It's officially done with the position on July 30th. I'm sorry. Actually, he was actually. I think Quesada was done on July 3rd. I'm sorry. July 3rd was his last day. But he will serve as interim from August 1st of this year, until July 31st of next year. So he will serve this entire new school year coming up as the interim superintendent while they continue the search. A well-known face within the district, Rodriguez currently serves as the assistant superintendent for special education and pupil support services in Yonkers. In this role, he helps to implement education plans that expand special education at elementary and secondary school levels. Before this, he also worked as both a director of special education instruction and a special education teacher in New York City. Rodriguez holds a law degree from Fordham University School of Law, a Master's of Science in Urban Education and Leadership from Mercy College, a Master of Public Health from Columbia, and a Bachelor of Arts from the City College of New York City. Very educated man. Another Hispanic man to replace Dr. Quesada, Hispanic. And that's one of the things I'll be talking about in this podcast, the lack of Hispanics in high positions within the city, right? In city departments. Quesada obviously being the superintendent. And then we have Reverend Lopez, Steve Lopez, who is the president of the Board of Trustees. But we don't have any other Latinos, Hispanics as heads of any other departments, mayor, deputy mayor. We have one councilwoman currently, Latina, Corazon Pineda Isaac, who represents District 2, which is the district that Fernando Fuentes once represented back when he was appointed in 1994. Fuentes has always been vocal of the administration's, whatever administration was in office at the time. He's been vocal about the lack of Hispanics within the school districts, and this was back in the 90s. He's been vocal about the lack of Hispanics participation, right, in and pointing out that the Hispanic population here in the city of Yonkers is large. It's big. It's almost depends on which source you actually get it from. Some sources are actually saying that the Hispanic population is the largest. Others are saying that we're the second largest, but just right behind that of the white population here in the city of Yonkers. So why is it that our departments do not reflect that? The city and the positions that are here in the city positions, they don't reflect that, right? They're not as diverse as the city itself, right? So that's something he's been always advocating for, and he's continuing to advocate with that. But I want to go back a little bit and talk about when he ran for assemblyman in a closely contested primary race, and this was in 1986. August 31st, a closely contested primary race among 3 Democratic candidates, 3 for the 83rd Assembly seat held by Republican Nicholas A. Spano, intensified last week as an appeals court disqualified one of the candidates. So Fernando ran, but was disqualified. And this is what they do in elections. They still do this. They challenge petitions, and his petitions were challenged by Terry Zaleski, the former mayor of the city of Yonkers. He was also running for this assembly seat. The Court of Appeals, the state's highest court, on Wednesday ruled Fernando Fuentes off the Democratic ballot in the September 9th primary because of a technical error in his designating petitions. So it's very important, if you're someone looking to run for office, that your petitions are done correctly. It's very important, and that's something I learned also. Fuentes, 34, a Hispanic community leader and member of the Yonkers School Board, will still appear on the ballot in the November general election as a Liberal Party candidate. Where's that at? But the ruling has effectively narrowed the Democratic primary to 2 candidates. They are Terrence M. Zaleski, former mayor, a 33-year-old attorney who is endorsed by the Yonkers Democratic Party leaders, and Joseph V. Apicla, 26, an assessor's aide of the city of Yonkers. So I just thought that was interesting that he ran back in 86. That's something I didn't know, and I wanted to just share that with you folks. I think it's good to know this stuff, because it's good to know history, right? But this is, again, something we see now in elections. They're always challenging the petitions, and actually, he had his petitions challenged, Fernando, and the Board of Elections, after they got rid of, threw him off because of the petitions. He challenged it. He won. He got back on, but then they took it, to a higher court where they made this decision and then took him back off. So you don't really see that happening, right? Charging, I want to read a little bit here. The Republican candidate, Joseph A. Russo, a 52-year-old engineer of the County Department of Environmental Facilities. Mr. Russo ran for the city council in the 8th Ward last year, losing to incumbent Frank J. McGovern, a Democrat, by about 100 votes. Most of the tensions in the final weeks of the primaries have focused on the legal battle over Mr. Fuentes' nominating petition and bitter accusations between Mr. Fuentes and Mr. Zaleski, charging that Zaleski's campaign was trying to intimidate him. Mr. Fuentes asked the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, so Yonkers has a long history in relationship with the DOJ, to intervene by sending federal marshals as observers in the primary election. In a complaint to the Justice Department, Mr. Fuentes cited an incident involving a telephone conversation with Mr. Zaleski. According to Mr. Fuentes, Mr. Zaleski telephoned him at midnight and told him, "You better meet with me." Mr. Zaleski, in an interview, acknowledged telephoning Mr. Fuentes to request a meeting, but he denied making any threatening statements. He termed Mr. Fuentes' accusations as baseless, ludicrous, and absurd. Right? John Wilson, a spokesman for the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department, said last week that the department would not intervene, but they did send an investigator. Right? So, this political, gangster, mobster-like mentality. People are threatened, intimidated, and I spoke about that 2 days ago on my podcast, as I had some guy pull up over here taking pictures of me and then posting them with Yonkers Voice. And, this is all political stuff. He's a guy that works with, or is good friends with Zahi Jeris, political operative. Obviously, they don't like what I'm saying. So this is nothing new. And this is what I've told folks, on the podcast. It's not me. That I'm not just saying I'm the guy being attacked. This is, something that I'm making up. There's a pattern here. there's a pattern and a long history of intimidation, extortion, bribing officials, right? Whether elected, appointed, or hired, on these in these departments. So this is something that people have to understand why we will probably not see a true, genuine election unless we understand that fact and get these individuals up out of here. The Latinos and Hispanos administrations are getting crumbs, and we'll talk about crumbs actually, because that's actually some of the some words or that Fuentes uses to describe what's going on. So here, mayor of Yonkers versus head of schools. So again, he was also advocating. This is something that we've seen even with Spano early on, in which and when the Spanos took over, or the Spano administration took over the schools back in 2014, there was that whole budget issue over $55 million that was came up missing, but it was just an error on the accounting side. They accounted for money that they were not getting. Right, so there was no actual money missing, but that was enough to have an IMA inter-agency or whatever, intermunicipal agency agreement where the city of Yonkers took over the Board of Education for the most part. It took over at least all the important aspects of the operation, right? From control of the staff, hiring, firing process, control of the budget, right? And basically left the superintendent only overseeing the curriculum and how that's implemented or what's added to that, right? But everything else is the cities, the mayor. They control the budget. They control the money. They control who gets hired, who gets fired ultimately, although the Board of Trustees does review that, but they still control the human resources and all the administrative aspects of the Board of Education, right? And so this is something that's been going on, again, for a long time, from back in the 90s. They've been trying to take over. With a school building empty across the street, and this is from 98, a Gall John D. Spencer, former mayor, the mayor of the city, to see students huddled under an umbrella one recent rainy morning, waiting for a bus to take them to the other side of the city. But court-ordered busing is not the only educational issue vexing the mayor these days. More than a decade after the city complied with a federal desegregation order, test scores for reading achievements in New York's fourth largest at the time school districts are among the poorest in the state. And they say that has changed. The graduation rate is 90%. But are students actually learning? Right? Are they actually, able to apply what they learn? And so many will argue, no, they're just being pushed along. They're graduating, but they're not actually getting what it is they're being taught. And so even in the 90s, the poorest in the state, right? Dress codes are ill-enforced. Kids have pants down around their buttocks, Mr. Spencer complained. And many middle and upper-class white families have fled the public education system. Many of our elected officials, while they may send their children to the public schools during elementary school years and possibly, middle school, once they get to high school, they're going to Stepanak. They're going to Iona Prep. And that's just a fact of life. And they would probably be in Iona Prep or Stepanak from, pre-K if they could, if they weren't elected officials, right? It would make them look bad. Everyone knows the schools are failing, Mr. Spencer said during an interview. We can't keep going on the way we have. A major target of Mr. Spencer's frustration in recent months has been Superintendent of Schools Reginald Mara, who was chosen 4 years ago to pilot the district between the Scala and some other, these are two creatures, of the federal desegregation order. The mayor, dissatisfied with Mr. Mara's progress in improving student performance, said he wants someone at the helm who has a fire in the belly. The mayor added, it's time to make some changes. The Board of Education's recent decision to replace Mr. Mara, who still has 2.5 years remaining on his contract, has many critics worrying whether the mayor is behind the move and perhaps overstepping the bounds of his executive office. Yonkers is the only city in the state where the mayor appoints all 9 members of the Board of Education, and the board is also dependent on City Hall for its budget. And that's something that a lot of people have, complained about, raised concerns about. Should we elect the Board of Trustees? Should that be an elected body rather than an appointed body? should many of the appointments that the mayor makes be elected, right? Like the zoning board, the planning board. Who are the individuals that are on these boards? We've talked about this very recently. With all the developments going on, the overdevelopment, the, stuffing of buildings in places where they shouldn't go, they don't belong, and they're out of place. Who's strategizing? Who's coming up with these plans, right? And who are the people on the board? Are they qualified, right? What experience do they have? So maybe we, the people, should have the opportunity to elect them rather than be appointed. And so that's what they were saying here. In most of the state's municipalities, boards of educations are elected. In New York City, where the board is appointed, the mayor can choose only 2 of the 7 members, with the 5 borough presidents each appointing 1 member. And in most school districts throughout the states, school budgets go before voters for approval. So imagine that. Imagine the public school budget, our school budget, going before us and allowing the people of the city of Yonkers to vote on it. Also, we should be allowed to vote on the board members. We should have that opportunity. We, the parents, we have skin in the game. Many of the board members do not have children in the Yonkers public school. Some of them don't even have young children anymore, may not even have children, right? And I think some may not even live in Yonkers. Some people on the planning board may not live in Yonkers. I hear some live in Peekskill. But why are they on these boards, right? And they're impacting our city. So in most schools, I read that in Yonkers, the budget is drafted by the district and approved by the mayor and city council. 3 of the current members of the school board who served staggered 5-year terms were appointed by Spencer, fending off criticism from school trustees in the mayor's office. Mr. Mara, a soft-spoken educator who has been, with the Yonkers school system for 35 years, said he was proud of the way he has attended to business. So it's always like a problem with the superintendents, right? There always seems to be problems with heads of departments, like with the building department. There was always an issue. And it seems to be the same issue. But when they hire the person to replace the outgoing individual, they say that's the person that's going to fix these issues, right? That's going to meet the need that they have there. And then that person doesn't work out. And then they say the same thing. We need, like with the building department, we need a good manager. Well, they said that about Vincent Picci. Then they said that about Sam Borelli. But is Sam Borelli a good manager? I mean, he's done things at DPW that would suggest he's not. And that's a problem, right? That's why we need to be more involved as voters. In a district with 24,000 students, 72% of them are Black and Hispanic. The superintendent observed that achievement test scores have finally begun to improve. New schools have opened on the city's mostly minority west side, and a pre-kindergarten program is expanding. Well, we have that one new school opening up at 73 Lawrence Street and McLean over there, the Soto de Meyer School, I believe that's her name. It will be open for September of this year for the new school year, but we still need 2 more schools. And with other individuals coming into the city, bringing children with them, such as the migrants, who will need to be placed in some academic setting, do we need a 4th school? And when will we get started on the second one? Former Yonkers Councilman Fernando Fuentes, this is in 2012, called on Mayor Mike Spano to appoint more Hispanics to high-level positions in City Hall. Fuentes, who served on the council in the 90s, noted U.S. Census figures showing that almost a third of the city's population is Hispanic, right? So he's been calling on this since 2012. He's, and many others, such as myself, have pointed this out. There's not that many Hispanics at the head of anything. There's not many Blacks at the head of anything, but specifically Hispanics, because Hispanics are going to be the majority, if we're not already, here in the city of Yonkers. And so we don't have enough representation in our city council, in our government at all. We don't have enough representation in the building department, the schools, the police department. Where are the police lieutenants that are Hispanic? Where are the police chiefs that are Hispanic? We see it in New York City all the time. You see white shirt Hispanics all the time. That's lieutenants. But we don't see that here in Yonkers. We don't see any, anytime soon. I don't think we'll see a police commissioner that's Hispanic. And one of the things they say, well, there's not enough qualified Hispanics, that's why. That's the reason. Really? In a city that's, largely a majority Hispanic, you can't find enough qualified Hispanics. And so maybe we need to do more, right? Maybe we need to go into the schools, and maybe we need to reach out to young kids who are graduating but are not really doing much after high school. That's a lot. This is one of the complaints many people in the city of Yonkers have. Students graduate, but then they don't go on to college, or if they do, they end up coming back to community college to take remedial courses because they weren't actually prepared. So maybe we need to prepare them. And many kids are not going to go to college. They don't want to go to college, right? So maybe we should have a program in the schools that'll give them certain amount of credits. So when they graduate high school, they can at least get a job as a police officer, where many times you're required to have, I think, at least 60 college credits. So you have to get creative. And that's how you change and improve, these issues here, right? But they're not focused on it because we don't have enough representation in our government. So we don't have any strong Latino leaders saying, hey, we need to do more in our schools because our schools are largely Hispanic. 63% of the population in the public schools, Hispanic, and that's growing. So we need to do more, but we don't have any strong Latino leaders. And that's a problem that I'm going to get into in a second. So we need more representation in our government. We need more Latinos in our government. District 2, District 3, a lot of Latinos. District 1 has a lot of Latinos. We have 3 Black female council members, but the population of Blacks here in the city of Yonkers is about 18 to 19%. Right? So, we have to step up. So we need to definitely get more involved. Hispanics, it's very important that we do. So this is Fernando Fuentes now. He's got a new organization. He's got a new website. He's got a new newsletter. He wants you to look at it. He wants you to read it. I'm getting emailed. You should be getting this emailed. If you're Hispanic, you should be definitely getting this. You should be involved. You should be involved. This is called the Yonkers Latino Political Action Club. The Yonkers Latino Political Action Club. And so you should check this out because there's a lot of information here that I think is important that you know. And whether you're Hispanic, Latino or not, there's information on here that you should know. It's important, especially if you care about politics. There are 57,493 registered Democrats in Yonkers, and Mayor Mike Spano received 5,747 Democratic votes. So 10% of the registered Democrats voted for Mike Spano. Candidates Corazon Pineda Isaac, the only Latina or Latino representation in our government, and Margaret Fountain Coleman received a total of 2,733 Democratic votes, or 32, total of 32% of the total votes. There are 106,769 active registered voters in Yonkers. 57,493 Democrats, 18,493 Republicans. There are over, just under 3,000 independents, if you care, just under 2,000 conservatives. But not many people are coming out to vote. If you look at the total number of voters, it's horrible. More people complain than vote. Everybody's complaining, but about 5% of the population or 10% of the registered voters are voting. right? That's not going to get anything solved. You have to come out and vote, especially the Latino community. You must register to vote if you're not, and begin to get involved. Know what's going on. It's important. It's very important. The candidates for mayor are Mike Spano, Democrat, if you don't know, and Anthony Moranti, Republican. Vote for the mayoral candidate who has the better vision for Yonkers and who you believe will offer the Latino community better opportunities. Opportunities in working as a deputy mayor. Have we ever seen someone that's not white as deputy mayor in the city of Yonkers? And assistant mayor positions, commissioner positions. How many Hispanic and Black commissioners have we seen here in the city of Yonkers? Corporation counsel and other important posts where Latino community can flourish. Opportunities in economic development where Latino construction, engineering, and architectural firms can flourish. We, the Latino community, must be a part of the Yonkers government fabric, or else find mayoral candidates who will have a diversity plan and inclusive plan for 40% of Yonkers' total population. The total Yonkers population is 215,000. I don't know if that number's correct. I got 209,000. According to the 2020 U.S. Census, the total Yonkers Latino population is 85,000. That's about right. Got about 87,000. And so that's a huge number. Depending on which source, again, I have Latinos, the majority, but then I also have Latinos in second with a difference of anywhere between 2,300 and 13,000 people, depending on the source. So that's not a big difference. It's not a huge difference, Latino. So and I don't want to make this sound negative or scare anyone. Please, guys, I love you all. I don't care what color you are. I really do. Right. But I have to, really encourage my people to get more involved. It's important. It's important. And because we are not involved, we do get left behind. Our community remains impoverished. And many times you see a cycle of poverty that continues. And so to the people that's afraid of you, different from you, yes, I am. I have changed. I've progressed. I've seen a lot of different things. I've been a lot of different places. I've met a lot of different people. And that's a great thing. That makes you more well-rounded. And it's important that you work on this and you get more involved. Know what's going on. It affects you. You got families out there that have been affected by gun violence, by crime, by drug addiction. I know my family's been out there. We've had those issues, right? How do we stop this? How do we keep our families from becoming addicted to drugs or becoming victims to gun violence or becoming, incarcerated from committing a crime? How many times you hear people, I have no option, I have to feed my family. There's no jobs. I get it. Where are the jobs that were promised? With the developments, with the studios. There's no way that you were going to get these type of jobs, and that should have been known before they came, because think of the type of individuals you would need to hire for those type of jobs, right? So you needed more practical jobs, distribution, manufacturing. An Amazon distribution place would have been nice here. It probably would have served a better purpose over there where they're building those Extel residential apartments. Imagine building some nice, affordable housing along the water with the Amazon right there. Many people from Yonkers who are not employed getting employed there and then being able to afford the apartments right down the street on Alexander. That's how you plan for the people. But that's not what's happening. But you can't be mad at the people who are taking control. If you don't get involved, if you don't let your voice be heard and let them know you're not going to stand for this and we're going to get in your face every single day, we're not going to stop. And we can do this, right? We in the hood all day telling somebody this in their face, right? This is why I am the way I am with them. I'm from the streets. I'm going to walk up into your Castle Royale event. I'm going to let you see me. It's not about being aggressive and violent, but it's about not being scared. It's about being confident, being involved, knowing what's going on. We want jobs. We don't want to get kicked out. We don't want higher rents. We want jobs. If they're not bringing jobs with the movie studios, then guess what? We don't want them here. And we're going to let you be known. We're going to come to these meetings. We're going to come in full force. We know what's going on. Why are these individuals being appointed to the Planning and Zoning Board? What interest do they have? They're the ones approving this. Right? So we have to be educated. And this is what Fernando Fuentes is trying to do here with this e-newsletter. Again, it's not just for Hispanics, but especially for Hispanics. We must get involved. Imagine if we unite. The strength that we would have, the power, the influence that we would have politically. It would be incredible. But we need real leaders to step up. We have none. We have none. Not one individual out there that claims to be a Latino leader has been leading us in the right direction. If that were the case, then we would see more Latinos in office. We would see more Latinos at the head of these departments. We would see more police chiefs, more captains, Latinos. How many of you have taken a police test and never got called? How many of you have applied for DPW, never got called? Fire department, didn't get called. We can change that if we united. If we came out to vote. We can change that. We can have more real leaders in office because the ones that want to step up for the community need the community's support. They don't have all the money and all the rich friends. They don't have a group of individuals that are going to see to it that they come out and vote to make sure that they get in office. So they need the community. The Latinos need the community to back them. If they're going to go out there and they're going to run for office, they're going to put their neck out there. They need the community to support. That's the power. That's the power. And we have to call out these Latino sellouts because they're there. They're out there and they're purposely leading us in the wrong direction. And the same goes for the blacks. There's no way that the city council president, a black woman, could be a black leader in this community doing what she's done. The decisions that they've made have only benefited those that are not minorities, that are not from the West Side, that may not even be from Yonkers, and that are already rich. So why would they do that? You should ask them, why did you do that? So we need new leaders, but we have to come out because if we don't get involved, then they're going to pick whoever they want and they're going to control them. And we are just going to continue to get shut out. And so that's what I'm all about. And, you know, if you've seen my stuff on Yonkers Voice or whatever, they're coming after me. They're coming after me hard because of what I speak on. I'm only trying to empower our community. I'm not against anybody in our community. I'm against those who are against our community. And they come in all colors. And so we must get out there and we must get involved. It's important. It's important. We have to change. It's 85,000 Hispanics in Yonkers, but not existing in City Hall and Board of Education key post. Fernando Fuentes heads the newly formed Yonkers Political Action Club. I thought it was committee. Yonkers is a very important city in the state of New York with approximately 215 residents, becoming the third largest in the city, the third largest city in the state of New York. Yonkers' annual budget is approximately $1.2 billion. There's money there. Remember, Latinos, most of our kids go to the public schools. What do you think about the education your kids are getting? Honestly, what do you think? We have to get involved because most of our kids go to the schools, right? It's like you see these, these white towns, and I'm just going to say it like this, right? Those parents come out. They go to the school board meetings. They don't fuck around. And they get shit done. But we don't come out. We got to come out. Our kids are in those schools. Mostly our kids are in those schools. And so we have to come out and be involved. Otherwise, our schools are going to continue to lack a lot that other school districts have, and we just don't. And it's sad. It's very sad. And who are the ones mostly missing out? Hispanics. Hispanics. Enough of getting treated like second-class citizens, because we're going to be the first class majority, and so we must unite. We must stand together. Mexican, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Guatemalan, Venezuelan, El Salvadorian, Cuban, doesn't matter. We must stick together. And we need to get more Latino representation in our government. That's right, Jose. Jose Diaz, he's running for county legislator, District 17. Now, let me tell you, there is a Latino in there now. His name is Jose Alvarado. The problem is that Jose has not done the job. He is not there to truly represent the people. And this is not a disrespect or an attack on Mr. Alvarado. But the reality is our people need representation. There are many Latino, Hispanic businesses in his district that are not getting the proper representation. Business owners struggling, in need of help, in need of support. A lot of thefts going on in their stores. But they don't care. You don't hear about the store getting robbed there. You'll hear about the Kohl's and the Burlingtons. Crime in front of their businesses. Drug addiction. People on drugs passed out in front of their businesses. Their businesses suffer. The district representative, nowhere to be found. So a man like Jose Diaz, who's truly there for the people, is what we need. Someone that's not afraid to speak out. Someone that's not looking for benefits. It's not looking for more money. It's not looking for a job title. It's not looking to be taken care of for the rest of their life with a pension that we, the taxpayers, pay. And if he doesn't get out there after he wins, then we vote his ass out. But we have to get involved. The Yonkers Latino community represents 40% of the population, but we only represent 15% of the city's workforce. You see that? 15%. We are 40%, and I think more, of the population, but represent only 15% of the city's workforce, and that 15% doesn't include commissioners. That 15% doesn't include deputy commissioners or high-level supervisors, assistant mayors, deputy mayors, right? It doesn't include that. According to the City of Yonkers website, there are 2,070 employees as of 2022, out of which only 317 or 15% are identified as Latino Hispanic descent. Mayor Spano can do and must do better. We are underrepresented in key leadership positions in the City of Yonkers. There are no deputy mayors or key commissioners of Latino descent hired by Mayor Mike Spano. Spano, continues Fuentes. The City of Yonkers website lists under the administration tab 19 key administrative positions, out of which only one, Carlos Moran, is listed as a human resource administrator. And Carlos, I've not heard good things about this man. I have not. And so this is the issue. I'm never going to sell my people out. You put me at, I'm all for my people. I'm for everybody. I'm for everybody. But I would not do this. And you got some individuals that take pride in being known as the Latino gatekeepers. And what that means is basically they decide which other Latinos get to advance and which ones don't. This is a real thing. This is what they consider themselves. I mean, so the arrogance and the attitude of certain individuals. But that's insecurity, though. Insecurity. And I won't get into any more details. The city of Yonkers, under the leadership of Mike Spano, does not have a Latino in his cabinet. Actually, let me read up here. The website does not list a single Latino or Hispanic in key leadership positions in the mayor's office, Office of Corporation Counsel, Yonkers Police Department, Fire Department, Public Works, Department of Finance, Department of Parks and Recreations, Department of Engineering, Office of Constituent Services, Office for the Aging, Veterans Services. The city of Yonkers, under the leadership of Mayor Mike Spano, does not have a Latino in his cabinet. We as Latinos want to eat at the table. And this is why I got into it with them. I'm not going to have you have me stand there so you can toss me the crumbs once you're done eating. That's not who I am. And if you don't let me sit at the table, then we have to create our own table. We build our own table. We build our own chairs. That's what we do. That's what we do. Not all of us are strong enough to do that. The city of Yonkers, under leadership Mike Spano, we as Latinos want to eat at the table. The city of Yonkers is not a family-run business where Mayor Spano can only hire his relatives, friends, and neighbors to key level positions, leaving us with scraps, added Fernando Fuentes. The Yonkers Political Action Club was created for the purpose of highlighting the issues of importance for the city of Yonkers, for the Latino community in the city of Yonkers. So it's important that we understand that. Now, many people have spoken about the nepotism and all that stuff, you know. Yeah, but this is about the Hispanic and Hispanic individuals in key positions, right? We want more Hispanics because we need to be represented proportionately. That is important. Very important. What else he says here? We're still eating crumbs. We're still eating crumbs. Still eating crumbs. And we are. And that's because we have so-called Latino gatekeepers who decide who gets to advance, who gets to get a contract, who gets attention, who gets support. But if they are threatened by you, some of these Latino leaders and gatekeepers that we currently have, if they are threatened by you, they will have you harassed, have you stalled, delayed in whatever it is you're trying to do, have you ignored, and even talk behind your back to have you shunned and have you embarrassed. This is what they'll do to their own people because they are threatened by their own. Instead of extending a hand and saying, hey, how can I help you? I like what you're doing. I'm in a position to help you. Let me do that. But no, they'll go over to the powers that be and say, hey, if you let them in or if you give them any support, then what I've been doing for you, I'm not going to do anymore. And then they're going to look at that other Latino and say, that Latino can't really do nothing for me. I was just going to help him, but I can't have this Latino mad at me. You see how that works? And so you will be getting blackballed and you don't even realize that it's one of your own and you're thinking it's the white man. And it's not. It's our own kind. We'll do it to ourselves every time. So we have to get out of that mentality. And to those who don't have that mentality, to those who want to see change and progress, to those who are ready to unite, you must get involved. Check out this website. Maybe you can join the Yonkers Latino Political Action Club. Become informed. And let's start to make some moves. Let's start to influence the way politics goes around here. Let's start to influence who gets hired as commissioner. who becomes the next council person or who becomes the next mayor of the city of Yonkers. If you want our vote, then we need some things from you. But we can only do that if we are together and united. And it's time that we start to do that. So I appreciate Fernando Fuentes for doing this and taking the time to really educate people and really help inform specifically Hispanics here about what's going on in terms of politics. I want to read this last thing real quick before I get up. The Yonkers Latino Political Action Club uses Senator Warren's quote because it is very relevant in our hometown. If the Yonkers Latino community is not at the table, then we are probably on the menu. And look, how many Latinos are leaving, are being priced out, or considering moving out of Yonkers now because they can't afford it. Right? I'm sure a lot of folks. And why is that? Right? We had no say. We had no say. We don't have representation. No one that's going to say, well, what about all the Latinos who are going to be impacted by all that development, the development of those studios? Are they going to really have jobs? Is it really going to bring jobs for them so that way, at least when the residentials are built, they can afford them and they don't have to leave. They're not kicked out of their hometown. Families being broken up. No, because there was no Latino Hispanic representation. The so-called Latino leaders don't care. They don't even know what's going on themselves. That's why it's important, because if we're not at the table, we are on the menu. The Latino community needs to get out and make its voice heard so that the decision makers hear our concerns and know that we are near the table. The Latino community has grown dramatically, or geometrically, is that what I meant to say, over the past few decades. When I started working in Yonkers, there were approximately 8,500 Latinos living in Yonkers. Today, the census has it at 85,000. The Latino community, like the Spano family, wants to work in their hometown. I don't criticize the Spano family for having various family members and friends working at City Hall. I don't criticize the former Senator Nick Spano for being a lobbyist consultant for the city of Yonkers, making $75,000 a month. I do not criticize former Senator Nick Spano for representing the developers that turned our city into the Pearl of Westchester. There is an expression in Bari, Italy, where the Spano family came from that illustrates the Latino community's concern. Cambre tua mapen in the Italian language, in Spanish, cambia tu barbero. In a nutshell, the bib is dirty because the ruling family eats alone, and it needs to be changed. The Yonkers Latino community, when they sit at the table, will need a bib. The ruling family needs to stop eating alone. They control city jobs, city contracts, city development, city housing, city zoning, city planning, city parking authority, city industrial development agency, city civil service commission, city municipal housing, city clerk. You get the picture? The Latino community makes up between 40 and 45% of the Yonkers total population. In less than 10 years, the U.S. Census Bureau projects that Yonkers Latino population will be over 60% of the total population. In less than 10 years, the Yonkers Hispanic population will equal 130,000 residents. Open your eyes. How many Latinos work in upper management in the mayor's office? 0. How many Latino developers have been selected by the mayor to rebuild our beautiful city? 0. How many of anyone outside of, people being Jewish? How many Latinos on key Yonkers boards? 0. How many Latinos work in the municipal workforce? Over 2,200 employees. 317 are Hispanic. Check their pay. How many Latinos work in key positions at the Board of Education? How many Latinos work in key positions at the Industrial Development Agency? How many Latinos work in key positions at the Yonkers Parking Authority? We are not at the table yet, but if we struggle, we get involved, we get engaged, we listen to Freddie Vasquez on Basement Politics and share the page, we will get there. The ruling family will not hand over their power and interest willingly, so we know what we have to do. Vote, 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 vote wisely and with the interest of the Latino community. We must be at the table or else we will be at the menu. And that is 110% correct. Thank you, Fernando Fuentes. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics.
Freddie wins.
To all my Latinos out there, you have to get involved. We have to change our circumstances here in the city of Yonkers. We are largely impoverished. We are at or below the poverty line. It's time for us to get the bag, and we can only do that if we get involved politically. Enough of the sellouts. We must get involved to represent ourselves. We have to start getting more Hispanic officials elected to office, ones that will truly represent our community and not their own interests. We must demand that we see Hispanics in high-ranking positions within the police department. We want to see Hispanic chiefs, Hispanic captains, lieutenants, and a commissioner. And I'm available for the commissioner's position. By the way, I saw Christopher Sapienza today. Shout out to you, Sap. You're the boss, you're the top guy, and you're the only police officer that parked correctly as you guys went over to Zupa to have your lunch. Did you see the other two cop cars? They were blocking a corner area there where people have to cross, you know, where the sidewalk slows down. So if someone in a wheelchair has to cross the street, well, that was being blocked by two police cars. Now, had we done that, we get a major ticket, right? Where is the equality in the justice? How many tickets have you given me for nonsense? That's bad. People could not cross the street. I have the pictures I'll be posting soon. But Sapienza parked correctly. The only thing he did not do was pay for the parking. But that's okay. At least you didn't block a crosswalk, Chris. You did not do that. Shout out to you. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. I love Yonkers. I'm out here speaking the truth. Don't let them bash me over there on them other pages. Start representing for me, man. Start defending me. These guys be lying. Once again, they have false information on me. It's all good. They are non-existent at City Hall or in key posts, and as long as they are also non-existent at the polls, that will never change. You're absolutely right, Anthony. You cannot be non-existent at the polls because you will be non-existent in their eyes, in their minds, and when it comes time to get things done, it won't be for you. You must come out to vote. If they had come out in full force as a voting bloc last month, Corazon would have won in a landslide. Absolutely. But the Hispanics that did come out, if they did not vote for Corazon, they voted for Mike Spano because it was all about Hispanos for Spano. And who were those leading the charge? Hispanics who I would not trust no further than I could throw them. I mean, one of them was an attorney who was disbarred for committing fraud. Right? A guy who's never really had to work a day in his life because daddy did it all for him. He just has to sit there and look the part with his cigar in his mouth. And I'm not referring to any one other than a Hispanic lawyer. You can figure it out. You have to take this to federal court. Just take it about a use of that. Listen, I put the information out. I can't do it all. But we together, united, can do a whole lot. We can move mountains. But Freddie Vasquez alone can only speak about it on his podcast. That's what I can control. That's what I do. But when you're ready to march on City Hall and we have over 100 people, let me know. I'll be right there with you. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Folks, I appreciate you. As always, thank you. Share the page. Share the page. Latinos, become a voice. Share the page. Oh, by the way, Jessica Gordon is back in the news, harassing homeless people who are sitting at Lincoln Park. You don't own the park, Jessica. You don't own South Broadway. And why have you not been fired? Get her off. You know why? Because it's corrupt. That whole South Broadway bid is corrupt. There is no need for that at all, because the city of Yonkers should be responsible for cleaning up and addressing any issues on South Broadway. You don't have to create an entirely separate organization like the South Broadway bid, where really it's just all about funneling money laundering, extortion, right? From the stores and the businesses. That's what it is. Oh, pay for this organization. You put money in and we'll make sure that the streets are clean. We'll make sure that the sidewalks get fixed. But that's bullshit. Because remember that sidewalk, Jessica, that you know was like that for 20 years? And it didn't get fixed until I spoke about it. I got that sidewalk fixed. I got it fixed because I pointed it out when she made the boo-boo and saying, well, if you want the sidewalk fixed, you need to vote for people who will get it done. And I said, really? So that means that Mike Spano and these individuals are not getting it done? The people that allow you to stay in your position, Jessica? That was a boo-boo, but they went and fixed it because I spotted that mistake you made. So we have to be on top of them. We have to be on top of them. I'm not out here just being crazy, talking a bunch of nonsense. All right, these are facts. These are facts. And if you're new to the page, check out the past podcast and you can start connecting it together. All right, I'm Freddie Vasquez. We must come out and vote. Thank you, folks. This is Basement Politics. I'm up out of here.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics. My dad, Freddie Vasquez.
In another one, Mr. Rubo lied to me. And I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Are we? Let's make it happen, guys. Make me happy today. Are we? Let's make it happen, guys. Make me happy today. Are we? Let's make it happen, guys. Make me happy today. That's a lot of stars. 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 Are we? Let's make it happen, guys. Make me happy today. Are we? Let's make it happen, guys. Make me happy today. So that my competition, the guy who always talks about me.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
No!
Freddie wins. Fatality.